Why You Shouldn't Smoke Cigarettes by Brittany Blunt. 30% of men and 19% of women smoke around the world. Most are under the age of 15. Smoking can cause not only harmful diseases that can lead to death, but it causes many other gross traits. My dad was recently diagnosed with COPD in the early stages, thank goodness. My granddad also died from COPD, and over half my dad's family still smokes heavily. My mother has officially quit for a whole year because my grandmother, who had a stroke, which the cause of it was most likely smoking. Nearly 1 in 5 deaths are caused by tobacco. 2 of the many diseases caused by smoking are chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and cardiovascular disease. COPD has 2 forms: chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Chronic bronchitis is a chronic cough involving an excess amount of mucus. Emphysema destructs your lungs over time. There is no cure for this disease. It only gets worse and worse with time. Next is cardiovascular disease. This is a leading cause of death in the United States, and it is all due to smoking. Cancer is also a consequence of smoking. It can lead to many different forms. For example, bladder cancer, cancer of the cervix, cancer of the esophagus, kidney cancer, cancer of the larynx, which is the voice box, which is the things you see on the Truth commercials with the guy singing, holding up because he has a hole in his esophagus. Lung cancer, cancer of the oral cavity, pancreatic cancer, and stomach cancer. Women in smoking. Other than yourself that can be hurt, but if a woman smokes when pregnant and before, it can cause infertility, preterm delivery, stillbirth, low birth weight, and sudden infant death syndrome. Also, postmenopausal women who smoke have lower bone density than women who never smoked. Women who smoke have an increased risk for hip fracture than women who don't smoke. Smoking in your teeth. Smoking can cause your teeth to lose their color, turn yellow and gross. It also can cause tooth decay. I don't think I've ever heard someone walk in a room and say, I love the smell of stale cigarettes. They leave a horrible spell on you and everything that you've been around. On an average, an adult spends $165 a month on cigarettes. That's 9,905 years, 19,810, and 39,620 years. That is a lot of money that could be saved up for a college fund, house, a car, everything, anything you could ever want. Secondhand smoking. More than 7,000 chemicals are let out into the air by the end of a cigarette, also by the exhale. For children, it can cause ear infections, more frequent and severe asthma attacks, respiratory systems as coughing, sneezing, shortness of breath, respiratory infections like bronchitis and pneumonia, and a greater risk for sudden infant death syndrome. An estimated 150,000 to 300 new cases of bronchitis and pneumonia annually, and approximately 7,500 to 15,000 hospitalizations annually in the United States. In adults, breathing in secondhand smokes has immediate harmful effects on the cardiovascular system. For people who already have heart disease, it can increase their risk to have a heart attack. Also, non-smokers increase their risk for getting heart disease 25 to 30%. Secondhand smoke exposure also causes an estimated 46,000 heart disease deaths annually among non-smokers in the United States. For non-smokers who also get secondhand smoke, it increases their chance to get lung cancer 20 to 30%. It also causes an estimated 3,400 lung cancer deaths annually among them. But there are organizations that fight for a tobacco-free America. For example, the Foundation for a Smoke-Free America, the American Heart Association, and the American Lung Association campaign for tobacco-free kids. The groups continue to try to help children, teens, and even adults the risk of cigarette smoking, and to try to keep our world safe as possible for the non-smokers. In conclusion, smoking is the #1 cause of deaths in America for not just only smokers, but for non-smokers also. Having my very own father diagnosed with COPD and having my granddad pass away because of it, and knowing that my grandmother had a stroke because of it also really opens my eyes and shows that this is actually a true problem, and that even if I can touch one person with the urge to either never touch a cigarette or to finally quit, then that's one or even multiple lives saved from this awful thing that everyone seems to love so much. The end.